All right, let's just take a look at our long-term. Let's work our way out and back in so that we have perspective as to what's going on here, right? So this is Ulta. This is a 5-year view. These are weekly candles that we're looking at, okay? I'm just gonna leave everything on a 5-year view for right now. So we have broken through October 2017 lows. We broke through this area where back in November of 19, we said we would look at that as an area to add. So clearly we are through some levels that make things look pretty nasty, and that's kind of what we want, right? Now, the thing that we can't say yet is what is the world going to look like when all of this finally settles down. So it's pretty difficult to create an opinion about where the world is going to be a year from today. My sense says that it will be better. I just don't know where this virus tapers off at, and we want to be in a situation where we've got some things under our belt that we can have a toe dipped in for when it does recover. I don't know if you guys listened to Jay yesterday when he talked about, you know, by the time you figure out where the bottom is, it'll already be moving up, right? So some places in here, when things are really, really nasty, it's okay to take a little bit of, you know, a feel on something. And I still think that we need to test this area. I don't think that we're done yet. Now, this little red box, you know, you guys are seeing levels and lines that I drew a long time ago, right? The levels continue to work for us. You know, if we did come back to see 212, and if we really saw like complete panic, blood in the streets, you know, is 180 a possibility? It is a possibility, right? It's not, you can't say that's never going to happen. You don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen. The other part of this stuff, reaching an area of where it can bounce, most bounces after this type of a move are likely going to just be squeezes. You're going to have some pretty nasty looking squeezes where people are going to say, okay, that was it, the bottom is in. Now, for us in a leap strategy position, we can play that, but here's the thing is we'll need to be more on the tactical side of that type of a trade. So, you know, for me, I would love nothing more than to just be able to say, this is it, I'm loading up. I am just going to buy 80 Delta Amazon leaps for next year, and that's all I need to do. I just don't think we're getting back up here in the same way we got down to here. Does that make sense to you guys? So that being said, I would say continue to look for the highest quality names that you can find. And remember, I'm still in a weak view. And we start to look for 80 Delta leaps, but we might need to narrow our time horizon to get the least amount of capital outlay and the highest potential return. So if we're looking, let's say 3 months out or 6 months out, that might be a better opportunity for us in an environment where we're still dislocated and we still don't know what the depth of damage is actually going to be. Because this is not like any crash that we've lived through before. Like the financial crash was, you know, that was survivable if you were positioned correctly, and you know that was one where you could say that was the bottom. But this is different because it's disrupting business and lives and people staying home and people potentially getting sick. There's so much speculation about, you know, if you get it, are you symptomatic? Are you asymptomatic? Once you've had it, how long does it take to like run through your system? And now that you've had it, are you immune to it? Can you get it a second time? Like there's so much information that's unknown about it. It would just be very foolish to come here and say, we have found a bottom and I can comfortably buy Leaps on Microsoft or Amazon or Google. Does that make sense to you guys? I want to get to that point to where we can buy, you know, further out and deep delta, but at the same time, if we can come in here and we can trade something like this, where our capital outlay is not big. Let me switch. I got the 5-minute up. You know, this is if you have resources, which most of us at this point should now. We should all of us should be in a pretty happy situation right now. Even with the Boeing and Ulta blowing up on us, if you guys, a lot of you guys wrote, a lot of you guys played downside. I mean, for me, I just look at those positions, and the only thing that they represent to me is opportunities for rights. And when I see them, I take them. I don't need a hero trade. But when you see something like this, these TQQs off of the open today, down where they were, the options are, because the options are spread so wide in this environment, it's difficult to get in, you know, a trade on something like this because of that spread. And we saw the same thing with the VXX, you know, trying to write some of that. But it's not easy right here. So if I can come in and I can lever something like this, like if I can just grab 3,000 shares of common on TQs, I've put myself in a situation to have a $30,000 day, right? And I didn't have to take on any option risk. Now, this is a unique period in time. I haven't traded common since the 90s, right? But I'm getting better entries and exits with the common than I am the options right now. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to switch back to trading options, but if I have an easier entry and exit, and I can go at market and I know I can get filled instantly, this is working better here than some of the other trades that I've been messing with, right? So that's a consideration. Now, also keep in mind, remember, we've been talking about these levels. Keep looking left. So, you know, where are we at? We're at an area. Now, this line that I had drawn, this 4613, let's go back and just take a look at the daily here. See this 4613? This line was drawn a long time ago. This line was drawn back in June of 2019 as a level, right? This line was drawn back in December of 2018. So, you know, for me, look at where it's come to, right? So, I mean, for me, when I entered this trade, the only thing that I was thinking was, if I get a bounce and I'm sitting on 3,000 shares, great. My thought is I come up to this line. If it stops, I dump. If it gets up to the 200, I got to start taking it off, right? Which is what I did. Now, could it have just gone the other way on me and raced back down here to 30 bucks? Yeah, I mean, we could have gone to go test the December low, but to me, if I'm stuck in that common, I'm okay with it touching down here, because I still have optionality down here, right? If I'm long 3,000 shares or 4,000 shares or 5,000 shares or whatever it is, I can start writing against that position and look for it to, you know, to come back up and bounce. And if it doesn't, and I'm stuck with it, well, I'm stuck with it, and eventually it's going to come back, right? Like that, I'm not concerned about. That to me, probability wise and capital outlay, that's not horrible, because I'm not laying that much capital out up here, right? I'm not laying out 400 grand. I'm laying out, you know, 150. I'm not taking off. Do you guys see the difference in the thought process there, when we're this far down to take a stab at something like that on another day where we get this nasty flush, right? Like, boom, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, here we come. We're going to come test this December low, and it didn't happen. So, okay, let's grab some of this TQQ and see what happens, right? For me in this environment right now, that just becomes a path of least resistance type of trade. I can fix that easily. Whereas if I go out and I throw myself into the option, I can do that, but I have to realize that, okay, that is just a lotto. And the way that they have them priced, because the IV is so pumped up, it's really, really difficult right now to get those trades off, right? It's just a different environment and a different setup right now. So, you know, don't get discouraged. Don't feel bad if you're missing out on some of these, but just think that we have to start changing some of the ways that we do some stuff. It doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way forever, right? So, but that is an alternative way for us to trade. The other way that we can look at trading is, you know, we talked about this morning too. And if you guys remember those May options, and let me see if I can. I don't even know if I can get these up. Let's see. Let's do the VXX. And I don't ever use this thing to pull option chains. I use my IB to pull option chains. Where am I at here? All right, let's look at these Mays. I need all. Let's look at those May, but those guys hit the 15s, right? So where's our, okay, so here they are. They're 13 by 16 cents, right? So if you guys remember, these things were what, like 20 something cents, right? And they've barely moved them, right? So they're 13 by 16 cents. Like this is the type of opportunity that we could come closer in on, and you know, and put out risk of, let's say, a dime or 15 cents, and you can very easily get a double. So that's the type of thing that I'm looking to try and pick off on a day where you get VIX that goes to topping out here at 79. You know, we get a VIX 90. Let me go back and look at this from a bigger view. Just shrink this up. This is why I called out 90, guys. This spike here back in October of 2008, right? So 90 to 100. And then look at what happened, right? Now, again, it's not the same scenario as the financial crisis. So it doesn't just die, but we have really good probability up here to take a shot at something like this really peeling off. And I'm sorry that I don't want to make you guys seasick here, so just bear with me a second. It is a little wacky though. remember, look left, right? Like you see how the VXX does not correlate to the VIX over a long period of time, right? So if we were to see a spike to VIX 90, my guess is we'd be somewhere up in here, right? Or somewhere up in here. And if that's the case, taking a 10 cent, 15 cent flyer on VXX, to me, makes sense. And then the other side of that equation was we were also taking a look at that that VXX as a potential call right. And the only thing I didn't really like about that setup is that there's no strikes past 80 yet. So that makes it a little bit more risky. And I'm looking at being naked, and I'm like, I don't really think I want to be naked in this environment. Like that's the kind of trade where I'm like sending an email to Nevin and asking him if I can sleep in a fucking Sprinter van. You know what I mean? I don't need that kind of hate in my life. So we got to be careful about putting ourselves into that type of situation. So it's, yeah, so you guys get it. We're looking at, let me just scroll back here and look at some of what you guys have here. But we just have to be thoughtful about what it is that we're doing. And if you're gonna trade, like where Vol, first of all, Vol, great trade, okay, on the SPY. I mean, that's, you probably had a similar thought that I did. Where I want you to get is, if you have to come into the chat and ask, hey, should I roll this or take my profit? You have your answer. Does that make sense? Like, I want you to get to the point to where you look at something like this and you're like, oh shit, I just hit a 3-bagger, I need to roll it. Like, that should be your immediate thought. Like, I don't know if this is the top. I'm looking left, I can't tell if this is the top. I can't figure it out. I've got my daily up, I've got my 5-minute up. It looks like we're coming into an area here where, I might be at a midpoint, right? Like, look at all these midpoints. These were the past lows. Am I going to break back down below that? I'm peeking out here. I'm looking left. I can't make sense of it. Roll that damn option. Does that make sense? Don't think about it. Just get it done. And if you want to overroll this thing to, like, I don't know what strike you were involved, but if you wanted to overroll and say, okay, fine, we're going to make all of this 271, back up, and you roll to 270s, keeping a huge chunk of that profit, that's fine. That's a fantastic trade, right? But don't think for 1 second in the middle of all of this that we have any business saying or deciding this is the bottom, right? And yeah, privateer the maze for sure. I mean, here's the other thing about those VXX puts, guys. All I did was pick those up as a lotto, right? And I offset them by trading. I don't even remember what it was. Oh, I think it was Roku puts, right? I had Roku puts here. I had Roku puts in here, looking for a breakdown to here, and that's exactly what we got. Right now, I could have held them longer and gotten this, but that was a 4-bagger trade. I'm content with that. That works. Am I willing to take on more than usual at that 09 level? Well, Oza, okay, great question. And again, I think it really just comes back to this is real dislocation, right? I don't know what it's going to do to global trade. I don't know what it's going to do to revenues. I don't know what it's going to do to our GDP. I think people are struggling to try and figure out what those numbers are going to be. I think you're going to hear wild numbers all over the place, and I think it's important in this for you guys. Again, same whole thing, right? Calm the fuck down. Just take it easy. small positions, you know, like that VXX put, that was a feeler, right? And now that I've observed it long enough, I can watch for and look for this type of activity. And if I see this thing spike, and if I see this VXX spike, I have a better idea now of, okay, hey, as an option like this May one, these 15s, it's unlikely we're getting back down to where we get paid on them. But does the possibility exist that if I get a spike like this, that I can trade an option for 8 cents, 10 cents, 11 cents, and by the end of the day, it's worth triple that? That possibility exists, and that interests me. And that keeps me out of a crowded SPY trade, right? That keeps me out of a crowded Microsoft trade. It lets me, I can trade bigger size on something that's, you know, 8 cents, 12 cents, 15 cents, and just look for it to move 5, 10, 15, 20 cents. And if I'm wrong, I'm really not going to get wrecked, right? And I can do that with size. And keep in mind, these are just trade ideas. This is not us moving any strategic money in. We, in this environment, we have to be tactical. We keep talking about all of these pops are opportunities to sell, and you know, look at them, right? I mean, I just don't think that we can decide this is it. To me, it makes more sense to just continue to stack up profits on these shorter term trades and wait for great spots on the big guns, right? You know, I don't know where this is going to settle down. Is it going to settle down here? It could be. And think about what I mean, first of all, right now it's a nice opportunity, right? Think about what kind of leverage we're going to get to use on a leap if this thing comes down to 30 bucks, or if this thing comes down to 20 bucks, or if this thing comes down to 10 bucks. Like the opportunity is going to be massive. And I want all of you in here to have this dry powder so that when these opportunities do arrive, that you will have the opportunity at making life-changing money, right? That's the whole reason we're in here setting up, is we're setting up so that you guys can get into a position to where when we do recover, that you can make life-changing money. And we're well on our way. Now, I will say that this is unexpected, and had we foreseen this type of drop, our SPY pits, I mean, we would all be complete rock stars. But we did well on them, and we did switch to a more tactical mode, which is where we're at now. And we are making, most of us are making money on a daily basis now because we have such wild swings in what's going on. I would be careful about the type of activity that hits the board. Like, for example, on Friday, before Trump spoke, those VIX guys showed up, those SPY guys showed up. We talked about where the top of the box was on Friday. Let's take a look at that. Let's see. 13. What freaking day was that? I lose track of these days so fast, I swear to God. Okay, that was the 13th. All right, let me go back. We talked about the top of the box being right here, right? And we talked about this being a potential trade. And I jumped into I traded Microsoft here off of this break. Now, you know, could I have, I was also looking at 143.50 as an area, because look at where it kept on this Friday, look at where it kept hitting this midpoint, right? I wasn't in at 143.50. I had to wait until I got here at this double top. This double top broke, SPY broke. I jumped in. I caught most of this run. It's really hard to catch all the run, but I didn't want to be in this thing over the weekend, right? I mean, look at what happened. 161.93. And then, you know, if you were in that trade and then all of a sudden you were like, oh my God, what have I done? And you blew out of it at 137, well, you just cost yourself a ton of money, right? This is what we're looking to avoid, right? That's why I keep telling you guys to just keep stacking these wins. Roll when you get a chance to roll. If it's an extreme, put something on, take something off at an extreme. We can see where the extremes are. All we have to do is look left. All we want to do is make sure that we continue to keep it simple. We don't want to get into, you know, we can start to take a look at things like, you know, doing some more some more tactical type of trading. Like, let's take a look at this, like the okay, because we topped out here. It's a little bit of a double tap, right? So, you know, a Fibonacci retracement, you've got different levels that will come back to. 38 being a prime one. So, you know, look what happened here. We hit this top, it came back down to the 38 fib, and then you can see that there was some profit taking here. Now, is it going to hit 0.5? You know, typically what will happen in a Fibonacci retracement is you'll get here to the 61 first. If it's gnarly, you'll see 78. So we've been seeing these, you know, these types of moves. So this is something that can help give you some areas as far as, you know, where do I take some profits? But at the same time that we do that, you know, I'm giving you guys the look left scenario. We're at a midpoint, because look at where this little midpoint lines up. It lines up almost exactly on the 38 fib. You guys got to see that, right? So I've been giving you guys this type of analysis. I've actually been doing this, and that's what's helping find these midpoints. But I don't want to confuse you guys with how to use the Fibonacci retracement and when to apply it and how to apply it. I'm trying to keep you guys more simple as far as looking for and identifying the extremes of a move. And most of you guys are quite good at it right now. But that's what we've got going on. And, you know, again, on days like this, just, you know, be careful about being in the steam room. There's going to be guys in there that, you know, I was in there a little bit this morning. You can definitely see some panic in some people, right? Just be careful about, you know, what you sink in, what you hook into, right? You just got to be careful about it. That's all. You guys know who the good traders are in there, right? And you know when guys are in a good space and when guys are not in a good space. So just be careful about that. Do you guys have anything else you want me to take a look at? Do you understand where my headspace is at? Yeah, I mean, really, guys, take a look at how you've performed compared to other people around you. And I don't mean just guys like in the steam room. And by the way, we've done better than probably 90% of the guys in there. But just generally speaking, we've done really well. We've not just survived, we've profited. We've set ourselves up with cash. We've set ourselves up for when this does recover. We've set ourselves up for you guys really being able to sink into life-changing money, right? All right, you guys, if you don't have anything else, I will cut it here, and we'll go about our trading day. All right, you guys, we'll keep talking in the chat here, okay? All right, y'all, have a good day.